friends, this is Tony Cañas, and today I want to tell you a pretty cool story that I like to call the agency where you can get voted off the island. So my usual disclaimer when talking about agencies and brokerages is I have never worked a day of my life in an agency or brokerage. I have served them as a sales manager, as an underwriter, through Insurance Nerds, as a staffing provider, etc. And this particular story comes from my time as a middle market underwriter. There is a problem that I hear about a lot when speaking to agency side people, especially when speaking to CSRs and account managers and other agency side service people. And that is producers who are not nice to them. Producers who are, I don't want to say the word that generally comes up, but producers that are mean to their agency, to their service people, or who, yeah, let's just put it that way, who are mean to their service people. That's not, that people generally use much harsher language. And I believe this comes down to the fact that it is very hard to train new producers. And most agencies are desperate for good producers. Really awesome producers, and there's many of those, really awesome producers are good both at producing new business and keeping the clients happy and at treating their service people well and being nice to their service people. The problem is that there seem to be many producers out there who mistreat their service people and they get away with it. Probably because there's a perception that producers are harder to replace than service people. And they're the ones bringing in the money. See, if they're the rainmakers, it's hard to replace them. So this is kind of a hard problem to solve. As a middle market underwriter, I ran into a brilliant solution that this one agency uses. I visited this very rural region of the US, or significantly rural region of the US, this rural state. And there is this large regional commercially focused agency or brokerage. It's large enough that they own a very nice 3-story or 4-story building, which is tall for this particular city. And they occupy the whole thing. Like, that's how big of an agency they are. I have no idea how big their book is overall, but they're a sizable agency. And they've been in this local area for a long time. Let's say 70, 80 years. And so I visited them as a middle market underwriter for a particular company, got their story, and I was very impressed by what they were doing and what I saw. But the biggest thing, they have this great rookie to partner program where they have a great success history in getting the new producers, getting them validated, and then getting them to become partners in the agency. And the founder of this agency, his name, this agency has 2 last names as its name is whatever and whatever, right? The founders, with their name on the door, being big believers in that local relationships is what made them successful, especially in this rural area. They didn't want to sell the agency to a large national or international brokerage when they retired, and there was nobody big enough locally to buy them. When they retired, they were very visionary. When they retired, they instead of selling the agency off to the highest bidder, they made the agency into an ESOP. An ESOP is an employee stock ownership program. So basically, the employees own the agency. This part is not particularly uncommon. You do see this every once in a while. So the employees own the agency, but the really cool part is the way this ESOP was designed is every employee owns 1 stock, and you can't buy more stock. Every employee owns 1 stock. When a new producer comes on, they're told from the very beginning that once they validate, and I can't remember the validation period is 3 years or 5 years, but once they validate, there will be a vote on in the agency, an employee vote on whether they will be allowed to become a partner or not. The producer, they make a lot more money than the service people do, so it's not like they're getting screwed by this, but basically, when they validate, there's an agency-wide vote, and each employee has 1 vote on whether this producer will be allowed to become a partner. That's where it gets super interesting, because if you think about it, most agencies, just about any large agency, is going to have a lot more service people than producers. Producers can handle a lot more revenue as a producer than a single account manager or CSR can. So a large producer might end up having 4 or 5 account managers, and then in a big enough agency, you also have other people who are also service side who are not account managers. So anyway, in an average agency, in a large agency, you probably end up with like 1.5 to 3 times as many service people as you have producers. When a new producer validates and is allowed to goes to vote, there's this secret ballot where every employee gets 1 vote. Well, think about it. If 2/3 of the vote or something like that are service people, producers who are not nice to the service people are get voted off the island. That is ultimately the effect, is they've created this system that forces producers to be nice, and that makes it so that producers who are not nice to their service people get washed away, don't make it. So you end up with a much better, in my opinion, a much healthier agency culture. Yeah, I can totally see how this could backfire. You could end up in a culture where producers don't want to work at, and where the agency starts declining because there's nobody to bring in new business. But that doesn't appear to be what happened there. It appears to be well balanced. And I've only seen it there. I have never seen that in any other agency or brokerage. So I thought it was just brilliant. And it's been a few years since then, and I've been wanting to write an article about them or make a video about them since then. So here we go. If you run an agency, or if you work in an agency and the founders are retiring, this is a very interesting path to maximize the chances that the agency lives forward past the founders retiring, instead of just getting acquired by a large conglomerate national brokerage, or instead of the culture declining and putting your service people in a bad place, which is not going to be good for the agency long term. Just wanted to share that idea. If you work for an agency that balances this well, especially if you are a service side person, if you're a CSR, an account manager, or an account executive, and you work for an agency or brokerage that has really nice producers, and you don't have this problem of the unnice producer, then comment below on how you guys do it. Is there a structural way, or is it just being really careful which producers you hire and how you train them, or is it just because you've only got a couple of producers, so it's not a big deal? So I'm really curious on how you keep your producers nice, basically. Thank you for tuning in today.